Hello, hello. I'm going to talk about something. Now, I haven't, like I said in my last upload, I haven't been on my main channel to see more of the, alerts and thumbnails from people making videos. So I'm going to be honest with you. I do not know what is going on right now in whatever world I was in a couple of weeks ago or 2 to 3 weeks ago. I don't know what's in that world because I am not paying any attention to it. But this is what I want to say. The reason things are still going on, if it is crazy, because I haven't tuned in to see, and if it is crazy, if it feel like it's getting crazier, the reason why it's getting crazier is because the masses like drama. Because when you really are sick and tired of something and you don't want it to exist anymore, whatever problem it is, it won't exist. Because many people know by now that the world is mental. However you interpret what that means, because interpreting what that means interpreting what that means depends on your own spiritual growth, because it might mean something to you uh 2 years ago, and then it can mean something totally different now. And then 1 year from now, the more you grow into who you are, it's going to continue to mean something different, meaning that you're just expanding yourself. You're no longer just staying in one particular type of perception. You're expanding your consciousness, you're expanding your mind, okay? And so if things are crazy, if things are getting crazier, whether it's whatever they're trying to push, or whatever, even if it's mandates, or even if it's just crazy stuff going on in Hollywood, I have no idea. Because even when I was on that channel a lot and seeing the thumbnails, I stopped looking at a lot of I stopped listening to like radio, like as far as the latest artist, that is. I stopped listening to that because I still listen to songs, but it's songs mostly from 70s to early 2000s. And those are most of the songs I listen to. So 70s to early 2000s. A lot of 70s and 80s. A lot of 70s and 80s. But so it's not that I don't listen to music. I don't want to hear what's coming out today, because here's the thing. Just because it's 2022 doesn't mean people are on a higher vibration. People are actually on a lower vibration. I mean, people on a much higher vibration in the 60s. When I was I still deal with things, but when I wasn't in as much of awareness, I'm gonna say it like this, because it really has to do with awareness. I mean, vibration is fine, but if you don't have awareness, you're just gonna have a vibration that's gonna be up and down like a roller coaster. Okay, so it's good to have awareness and to continue to have awareness, because all this vibration and frequency without awareness, it don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing if you don't have the awareness, because it's like getting the 8 ball, like shooting pool, and getting the 8 ball, shooting the 8 ball in, and like, ooh, but you can't ever remember how you did it. You just get lucky. That's like getting on the high vibration. You get this and you get that and you get what you want, but you don't know how you did it. So it's like a roller coaster. It's like a what you call it's like a roller coaster. You up and down, because you don't know how you did it. That's why I don't really mess with all that high frequency and vibration. I'd rather work on elevating myself and elevating who I am, and really getting more knowledge. And knowledge is not always in a book, even though books are good. You got to discern whether to believe what they say, because that's and then whoever they got it from, you got to discern who they got it from, and who they got it from, and if that person said they got it from some spirit, you got to discern whatever. So I like reading. I think reading's good, but it's best to really learn how to trust yourself, because that's where you're going to get the best information from, because you're going to have access to more information that's probably going to be hard to find somewhere. It's going to be hard to find, so anyway, yeah. Now, so what I was saying though is that things are crazy that's going on now. Oh yeah, I was talking about how I was going through something. I was in the lesser awareness, let me say. I was in the lesser awareness. And I was listening to a lot of music to make me feel better, and I still do. And I was listening to Earth, Wind, and Fire. I was listening to songs like Fantasy, this song called Keep Your Head to the Sky. Keep Your Head to the Sky, right? And then I saw something by Kendrick Lamar. Now, I like his music too, but here's the thing. It's not on the vibration like those songs from the 70s. It's not on even though his songs sound good, and I'm going to tell you, Spirit told me to cut one of his songs off. I forgot what I was listening to. It was on that, what was it? It was this Not the Damn album, but it's like We Gonna Be Alright. You know that song. I like that. I like I love that album. With We Gonna Be Alright and all those other songs. I actually listen to it over and over and over again. So I like Kendrick Lamar, but he ain't on that frequency that his music wasn't up there like I needed it to be. It sounds really good though, and he got some good words, and he's like he's a lyricist. I mean, I can't knock him. But the Spirit said, no, go back to Earth, Wind, and Fire. They were on that music is on a higher type of frequency. But most of the music in the 60s and 70s was, and even in the 80s. Okay, and Kendrick Lamar, his music is a lot better than some people out today. I don't know who they are, though, because I'm not listening to people since the early 2000s and maybe like 2010, 2011, something like that, 2012. And maybe beyond that, and maybe some 2013. I think around that time, 2013, 2014, I was done with the radio altogether. Because even in 2010 and stuff like that, I was listening to a lot of radio, but it would be a mixture of still music from the 90s and stuff, a mixture of all kinds of music, not just the new stuff that's out, that they play on, like the rap songs that they play on, the new rap songs and all that stuff they play. So, it still told me to go back to Earth, Wind, and Fire. What I was saying was, just because we're in 2022 does not make people more advanced. It does not mean they're on a higher frequency. People have evolved. That's why I don't mess with modern people. What they want to call modern, I can't mess with it really like that because they're actually on a lower vibration. And they're on a lower vibration because there's a more dependency in technology, and then a lot of the music has just gone downhill. But specifically in the so-called black community, it's definitely gone down. Okay, because a lot of people would rather just get money. I realize they got mouths to feed, they need money, they need to pay bills. But they do that they really sacrifice themselves even more. They sacrifice their families, but they also sacrifice a whole generation when they do that. They sacrifice a whole generation. Like I'm Generation X, so I grew up on a lot of that gangster rap. I grew up on NWA and Crime Boss and all that stuff. Yeah, those people got their money. They were able to feed their families, but guess what? A whole generation was ruined. And even I'm not just getting on the males, but I mean the males had. I'm gonna be honest with you. People like the females too. Listen. I don't care who wants to disagree. The black man in America was gifted with the influence of the world. I don't really care what. That's just how that's from growing up. That's just what I saw. That no matter, you can say the black woman, a so-called black woman, so-called black man, you can say, well, the black woman did this too. Here's the thing. I don't believe from my experience growing up, just my own perception. I don't believe that the so-called black woman was gifted with influence the way the black man has. I think the black man has been gifted with influence. Reason being because everybody around the world copies hip-hop, copies all this stuff. Okay? So I feel like this. A whole generation was ruined. Yeah, the woman agreed to it, and they should have. And because it was just Dolores C. Tucker. Dolores Tucker. It wasn't a whole lot of women that was backing her up from her generation when she tried to stop that stuff. She tried to stop that doggone music that degraded women and just degraded the whole brown community in general because, yeah, she didn't like the way And it was like some kind of conference they had, and I saw her with the Snoop's a big thing a big what you call it, copy of the cover of Snoop's album, like it was called Doggy Style, and that's when she said that pornographic smut or something like that. And it definitely, that kind of music definitely ruined a couple of generations. It definitely did. Okay, it definitely did. That music did worse than crack. Okay, I know we had the crack era and there's guns put in the neighborhood, but then you have the music to go along that influenced the use of it. The music to me was stronger than just using crack alone. I feel like the music made it influence the minds of people uh, to do a lot of things. Okay, so anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna finish this off. But like I started though, uh, if things are going on, if it's crazy, people might be talking about whatever Cardi B is doing. I don't know what's out there in the world. You know, I don't know in that other world. Okay, because if I'm not paying attention to it, I'm not a part of it. Because you a part of whatever you give attention to, and I don't know nothing about what's going on. Honestly, I have no idea. But you know, like whatever Hollywood's doing, whatever celebrities doing, whatever's going on, whatever's going on with the news. If And I'm talking about the world as a collective. I'm talking about the whole world. I ain't just talking about so-called brown people, and I ain't just talking about so-called white people. I'm talking about the world in general. If things are still crazy, if things are still just getting too wild and chaotic, it is only because it's only because people have not made up their minds that they're tired of it. That's just the bottom line. And I'm talking about worldwide. They have not made up their minds that they are tired of it. Because yeah, people can unite, but it don't take the whole world to come together in some global meeting at one spot and just unite. It don't have to be like that. If people just all together just tired of the negativity, and they tired of the craziness, they tired of the killing, and they tired of all the just all the stuff that's going on. They don't. It's like you have a mass of people that's just sick of it. And however they're going to try to change that narrative, they're going to change it either whatever way they know how to do it. Because everybody's on their different levels. Okay? But the bottom line is you're going to have a mass of people that's sick of it, right? And however they do it, whatever their style is, they're going to get rid of it, right? And either way it goes, whether they're a Christian, whether they're a Muslim, whether they, whatever they are, whether they, just believe in self, elevating to the highest self, right? Whatever they believe in, either way, if it's a united consciousness of just being sick of the drama of the stupidity that's going on, regardless of what they believe in, each each person is going to have their own way of making it change to something that's not so crazy. Okay, so and that's why I don't look at stuff no more. Because if you realize that the world is mental, I don't want to look at what's going on TV. I don't want to look at the news because the world is mental. If people want to accept everything that's put in their heads, that's on them, and they've been indoctrinated to let somebody else tell them their story. Because people can say, I tell my own story all they want to. But if you constantly watch, and when I say you, I'm speaking in general, I always have to say that because I know sometimes people like to attack the listeners and judge the listeners like just because they have a channel, they supposed to be above everybody else. I'm not like that. So when I say you, I'm speaking in general. I'm not just hopping on folks who's listening. Okay? But if you say that, well, I create my own story. I tell my own story. But then again, turn around and listen to the news and take whatever the news is giving you. Then somebody else is actually telling your story for you because they're creating your reality. They're creating your reality. I'm not saying completely bury your head in the sand. I'm not saying completely bury your head in the sand. But if you, what is, especially United States of America, if it's just get crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier every day, they got to find something more stupid. Something more stupid. Like, it's already been crazy. But let me tell you something. Ever since 2021, it has been a hot mess. People don't know what gender they are. They don't know if they have a penis or vagina. I ain't listening to TV no more. I don't want to hear that crap no more. Listen, if you got to fuss about whether you a boy or a girl, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to hear nothing, nobody else, because it's getting too confusing. It's getting too crazy. It's getting too crazy. That's when I'm done. I'm done with what's supposed to be called people. I'm so over that. I'm so over that. I was treating a patient. Okay, treating a patient, doing therapy with a patient. I was in her room and looking at, what was it? I think it was The View. I don't. It wasn't The View. It was some other kind of talk show, but it was not The View. It was somewhere these ladies are sitting to the side, and this guy sits in the middle. There's always this guy that sits in the middle. I don't know what the name of that show is, but it's like 4 ladies, and then there's a guy, and he like sits towards the end in the middle, and 2 ladies sit on one side of him, and the other 2 ladies sit on the other side of him. I see it like that the last couple of times I've been in this lady's room, and she was like, "What is going on? What is this all about?" I was like, "Listen, most of these people wouldn't have a check. They got to, number one, they got to create these narratives anyway, because they really ain't talking about nothing. And they get a good check to talk about nothing. So they got to create these narratives so most of these people can have a job, honestly. Because it's not, what they're saying is not important. What they're saying is not important. So they got to talk about all this stuff going on, narrative that they're trying to create in the world going on, because these folks, it's entertainment and they need a check. Okay? So I was like, that's what I was telling the lady, because she was just like getting frustrated with looking at this stuff, you know. And she was like, what is all this? Is this, why is this? It's just getting crazy. I'm like, listen, they're creating this stuff. It don't have to exist. They create it. They are creating it. It's like, it's not real. They're creating problems. They're coming up with issues that's not real. Okay, so they can have something to talk about, you know. But anyway, yeah, that's all I got to say. But yeah, you know, if it's getting crazy and crazy in the world, it's only because the mass of people have not made up their minds that they're tired of it. They haven't made up their minds. Okay, and so that's why it continues to stay crazy, because there's a part of them that feel like they might have to put up with it. It's a part of them that's attached to suffering, because a lot of us in the world, we've been indoctrinated to honestly believe that we have to suffer no matter what color we are. We have been indoctrinated that to learn that we need to suffer in some kind of way. We've been indoctrinated to that it has to be bad and good. Okay, so we've been indoctrinated in duality. We've been indoctrinated to this. We can't believe that it can just be a love or whatever. We've been indoctrinated that we have to take the bad with the good, right? But when you keep feeling like you have to take the bad with the good and keep holding on to duality, then these people that's pushing this stuff, they don't go anywhere, because people believe that that has to be bad and good. So even if the certain people that are doing things, even if they're removed, the belief that a bad has to come, like you just have to have the bad to balance things out, you just need the bad, then once these folks are removed, it's going to be somebody else. I guess everybody's happy. I don't know. Everybody's excited about the royal family and what happened to Queen Elizabeth, which probably happened maybe over a year ago, but they had to finally announce it, because now it's just, time is up. Okay, time is up. So they finally had to announce it. But some people, I guess, are happy. I wouldn't know. I'm not paying attention, but I just listened to one person channel on my journey to highest potential, and she talks about it. But other than that, What are you happy for if you believe in duality? Because as long as you believe in duality and you believe it has to be some negative and some bad along with the good, then that royal family might be gone out the door, that Queen Elizabeth might be gone. But if you want to keep believing that it got to be some bad with the good, then something else is going to come along that's just like them. And then you will never have rest. Okay? So anyway, we're done with duality is pretty much over, but a lot of people hold that in their minds. But that's not going to work either, because the ego world is just leaving altogether. That's part of the ego world, okay? That's that duality belief. That's part of the ego world, okay? And some people that's why I'm kind of grateful for the things that kind of happen to me, even though I get so sick of it, because it helped me, but it's also very dangerous, the stuff that I have to deal with. It had to deal with and still deal with, which has to do with elevating the mind, really. The more I get into awareness, the more I get what it is, but it still can be very, very dangerous. And you have to work hard on yourself every single day. It's not just about no meditating for no hour or two. Mm-mm. It's almost like I need to quit whatever job I have. I need to quit that, because this right here is a full-time job now. It's not about putting the hour or two to the side to meditate. This is a full-time job. Okay, so I won't even have time for children. I don't even have time for a little dog. I'm looking at a lady walk her dog now. I don't have a time for no dogs or cats. This is a full-time job. It's a full-time job. Anyway, yeah, so it's spiritual warfare, but the spiritual warfare has to do with our illusion and not what some other ego is doing that don't even exist. It's just what we believe in because we've fallen into Maya. I'm talking like that because, never mind. Never mind. But the ego world is going to come to an end no matter who wants to hold on to it. And I'm definitely saying that to some of these entities that feel like they don't understand their ego and they don't understand they don't exist. And I'm definitely saying that out loud right now because I don't feel like holding back. I don't care how much these egos want to feel like they're real. That's created by a computer or created by a bunch of thoughts. Some of these egos are created by a bunch of thoughts. And I'm talking about these, what they want to call spirits. These spirits that people like to use in their magical spells. Created by a bunch of thoughts. Created by people's imagination. And now they go around harassing other folks. And they're going to leave along with the ego world. But here's the thing. I'm not going to be so excited that they're going to leave because guess what? Anybody who's in the ego world is going to go right along with them. Because when you're so stuck in your ego, and I'm speaking to myself too, when you're so down in your ego, you're no longer really a person. You're like you're on automation, right? You're like an AI. When you're real deep into your ego, you're not even a real person. You're like AI. Okay. Um, and so regardless, that world is coming to an end. These people are pushing all this fear and stuff, whatever they're pushing. It's because they just don't want their world to come to an end, and they need everybody to believe the stuff they say because the thoughts create a physical reality. What you believe is a physical reality. A certain number of thoughts, if you're able to plant it in a certain number of people's heads, it kind of doesn't matter. The few who don't believe it, when you get a certain percentage of people with those kind of thoughts, then they get to create that reality. They get to create that reality. You know. And so a lot of realities that we see now that's created is based on people's beliefs and their indoctrination. Not necessarily what somebody else done, even though a lot of them created the lies. But the fact that a lot of people believed it, indoctrinated in it, it created this reality. Not necessarily what they did, it's what people believed. And it's unfortunate, but the ego world is coming to an end. Okay. And I knew that a couple of years ago. I've been knowing it, but when this whole thing first kicked off, you know what I mean, in 2020, I knew that the ego world, it was the end of the ego world. And these other entities knew it was and I call them entities. They look like people, I call them entities. And they knew it was the end of the ego world too, but they want to keep pushing all this stuff. That's why they're doing so much, because they don't want their world to end, because they can't exist outside of a fake world, because they're not real anyway. So they push this stuff because they can't have a bunch of folks rising in consciousness like that. They can't have a bunch of people rising up like that, because then they can't exist no more, because they're not real anyway. So they have to exist in an ego type of world because they're not real. So they can, here's the thing, they can't exist beyond the illusion. The people that's pushing all these wars and rumors of wars and all these pandemics, they got to push the fear, because they cannot exist beyond the illusion. They cannot. They're not original people. They got to push it. And the only reason why it keeps working is because people are believing everything they say. And it created their world for it. It creates that reality. When a bunch of people believe everything they say, it creates the reality. So anyway, that's it. That is all I have to say, and I will talk later.